r/AskReddit by Reddit. What is the strangest experience you have had with a friend's parent? One time I'm at my friend's house and his father comes up to me and he asks if I want anything to drink. I politely ask if I could have a glass of water. Dead serious, he responds with, "Oh sorry, I don't think we have any water. Would you like some pasta instead?" Thinking it's some kind of joke, I say sure. He goes into the kitchen and comes back a little later with a drinking glass full of spaghetti and hands it to me before going back to whatever he was doing. Needless to say, I was quite confused. Edit. Thanks so much for all the upvotes. Yes, you may have this human beverage of pasta and sauce. I'm so glad to have you in my normal human home. I was best friends with a girl from grade 4 to grade 7. A few years ago I ran into her parents at my brother's birthday party. The dad got super drunk and started hitting on me hard. I'm married and I was there with my young children. It was at my brother's house and the guy's wife was right there. Even then my brother still had to come save me from that creep. I practically lived over at my friend's house from my mid to late teens. They were a devout Pentecostal family and his dad was treasurer of their church. I go over to their house, walk in, and both parents are immediately in my face. "Did you steal money from US? Someone broke into their old top desk and stole $2,000 from the church funds." They accused me. Then the mother broke down and started crying, sitting on the couch, hands in her face, bawling. Then they all started praying for the return of the money. Then they prayed over me for guidance to do the right thing. I thought, WTH. What they didn't know was that their son, my friend, had his eye on a 2K Nikon F3 camera for a few months and his parents wouldn't buy it for him. What really blew my mind was he bought the camera and they never suspected him of stealing the money, and he never apologized to me for it. Edit. Change prayed to prayed. I was friends with this boy and we would go to his house after school and his mom would watch me till my mom was done with work. Well, one day we get to his door and there is a note on it saying we need to go to my house. The weird thing was that there was loud music coming from inside. We went to my house and waited and my stepdad and mom came home soon after. My mom obviously found that weird, so she ran over there and come to find out his mom tried to commit suicide. It was really sad, but she seemed to have gotten help and gotten better. But it was an experience I would never forget. Senior year of high school, I asked out a girl right before school ends for the summer. She said she wanted to stay friends. Bummer, but at least I'll never kick myself for not trying. I was still invited to her graduation party at her house, so I went, as I also enjoyed being friends with her regardless of any romance. At the party her dad met me in the kitchen and patted me on the back saying bummer about her saying no. If it was up to me, you'd already be my son-in-law. Not sure how to respond, I awkwardly laughed and said thanks. Not 20 minutes later he walked into a shed outside and asked us teenagers if we wanted to see a magic trick. He then proceeded to pull a dove out of his pants. A living, breathing dove. The guy was / is one of the nicest people I've met, but I never knew what he was going to say or do next. I was coming back from the annual county fair with a childhood friend and his cousin, heading to my friend's house. Unfortunately I got really sick at the fair and was sprawled out in the back of my friend's cousin's car trying my best not to puke everywhere. It didn't help that we live out in the mountains, so the drive was unbearable. Out of desperation for my stomach pain to pass, I didn't even turn on the lights when I got to his house and literally fell onto the bed in the dark, only to find his dad under me snoring. Apparently my friend's dad was staying up waiting for us to get home and fell asleep on his bed. I obviously woke him up and he freaked out, turned on the lights, and yet he was in his underwear. When he saw it was us he laughed at the situation, but it was definitely one of the most uncomfortable experiences of my life. I'm just glad I didn't throw up on him. My lifelong friend's dad is a nurse practitioner. When I was 19 I lost a lot of weight in a short amount of time, so I went in to see him. He gave me a rectal exam, that is, stuck his fingers up my butt. He had big fat fingers, so it was painful and extremely awkward. I'll occasionally get a, "Hey, remember that time my dad stuck his fingers up your butt?" from my buddy. When I was 15 one of my best friend's mothers was a raging alcoholic. Every day she'd start drinking in the afternoon and be blackout drunk by 9 PM. Whenever I was over, the drunker she got, the more fixated she'd become with my bust. She didn't have much herself and was convinced I was wearing padded bras. She even made me take off my bra one night to give to her to inspect. We were all really uncomfortable, but it was the only way to get her to stop talking about my breasts. That's really weird. We have a family friend who is smoking hot. She's like 35 and single, and like the hottest redhead I know in that age group. She has small breast and is like fixated on that. She tells my mom that she can't date because men don't like women with small breast. She always tells my mom that my sisters are gorgeous and have amazing breast. She's just fixated on breast and feels like they're qualifiers for being attractive or not. Edit. I realize I didn't make breasts plural, but duck it. I'm keeping it. In high school, my friend was dating a guy and we both were invited by him to his house. His mom was super mean though and acted like us being there was awful. I rang the doorbell and was invited inside by the mom. I was there for an hour and had to go outside to get something out of my car. I came back inside and heard excuse me. I'm sorry, yes? You didn't ring the doorbell before barging into my home. Oh, I'm sorry, should I go back outside? We wait to be invited inside in this house. I went back outside and the door was closed on me. I rang the doorbell and heard the mom say, who is it? Hi, it's Rustmat here to see your son. Just a moment, opens door, please come inside. Turns out every time you leave the house even for a second she expected the pageantry of a first invite. A friend's father was absolutely convinced that I was only friends with his daughter for money. They weren't exactly rich, maybe a tiny bit better off than we were, but it was impossible for him to know that. When her Dreamcast needed a new cable after one of her pets chewed through it, he came storming into her room while we were hanging out and demanded to know why I thought he would buy me something. My friend had to jump in and explain that it was her cable, not mine. He'd complain if I spent the night because he had to feed me like I was a stray cat. It was incredibly weird. The worst part is he made extremely inappropriate jokes all throughout dinner when I was there. I was maybe 14. Looking back, I'm starting to wonder if he wasn't just high. My friend explained that he kept one fingernail long to pick his nose, but I've been told that is not its only purpose. None of his behavior ever made sense. Edit. Just to clarify, since people keep asking, he was not Asian. The whole family was very white. How can you be sure you're not a cat? You chewed through the Dreamcast cable. He was complaining about feeding the cat because you're a cat. A 14-year-old cat is pretty old, and he was actually making jokes about you dying of old age. Not a friend, but an ex. His mother used to basically force me into not leaving each time I came over. He was 25 and still lived at home, and she was so eager for me to date him and stick around that she would go out of her way to dote on me aggressively each time I was there. She would find ways to make me stay longer and even outright say it was rude to leave so soon and find another board game or another movie or another snack to get me to stay in the house longer. She bought me weird presents like knickknacks and porcelain figurines. He wasn't a bad dude, but mommy dearest had babied him so much he didn't know how to do anything for himself. He expected to be taken care of by me, a then 19-year-old who hadn't ever started college yet and was working part-time at a Dunkin' Donuts. FFS, I still lived at home too. His mom just expected that she could completely enable him and baby him, then hand him off to a girl who would do the same for the rest of his life, which was psycho. We didn't date for long. In high school my girlfriend's mom would to let us drink and do drugs at her place. At the time we thought it was cool, until one incident when we realized how truly ducked this woman was. One night we had all been drinking, the mother included. Somehow one of the fellows, a odd friend of my girlfriend's, ended up passed out in the bathtub. Now I can't be sure to what extent she did, but at one point I walked into the bathroom to pee and found the mum fondling this kid. We were maybe 15 at the time. Suddenly my whole paradigm shifted, and I realized how messed up it was that this woman in her 40s would let the lot of us teens hang around using drugs and alcohol in her home / occasionally with her. Before anyone asks, people do ask, when I tell the story, if this woman was good looking. No, she was not. Not on your drunkest day. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.